Good morning, Capital Region. This is Dayton Maxwell, member of the CAAHP team, Farm Business Management Educator, and here with you again on a Friday morning. So, if you ever had one of those weeks where you were very clear and other weeks where you weren't very clear, and what I'm talking about is for the last few weeks I've had very good insight on what I was gonna write and speak to you about. And we've talked about working capital, which is very appropriate for these times. We talked about business liquidity, which is very appropriate for these times. And we've talked about your lender, how to approach your lender for funding, because you're going to need some funding during these times. And this week I was nothing was standing out to write about. So I just thought I wrote about a few different things today. You'll see in my column. And I'm just going to talk about a few different things. The first thing I'm going to talk about, as you can see on my fan, this whiteboard is famous now, according to my one fan. So we got that going. Thank you, my one viewer, for liking my whiteboard. But the first thing you'll see on the whiteboard is oil. And something happened this week that I never ever thought would happen in a million lifetimes, and that's the price of a barrel of oil became worth less than zero. Okay, did you hear that? And I'm sure you've read about this. The price of a barrel of oil became worth less than zero. And I thought, well, why the heck is this thing happening? And well, as you know, global demand for oil is down just because everybody's home and we're not doing anything. And so demand's down. And oil supply has been fairly steady, right? I understand some of the nations have turned their oil supply down, but the supply keeps coming. So there's kind of a bottleneck here, in that it's hard to shut off oil wells, right? I don't know a lot about oil wells, but it's hard to shut off that supply. It might be a little more difficult than you might think. So shutting off that supply, to get to the point, the supply is still coming. The demand is down. So what historically has happened is we've been able to have storage for the excess supply. However, that storage now is full. So so what's happening is oil suppliers, because they are lacking storage for the supply of oil, are having to pay buyers to take oil away, which essentially means that barrel of oil is worth negative. So fantastic, right? If you're buying oil, this is great. If you're buying inputs for your farm, oil is obviously very associated with diesel and gasoline. So you're buying those inputs, that's fantastic, right? Your prices are down. Okay, so a weird anomaly in this thing, right? Okay, just to update you on the Paycheck Protection Program. Last night, Congress approved a second round of funding for the Paycheck Protection Program. And if you don't know what that is essentially government funding to help you maintain your payroll. And you can apply for that through your depository lender. That's the place to look. So if you haven't done that already, the Paycheck Protection Program is going to be available again for a second round. And it's under the CARES Act. So if you haven't heard about this thing, and for some reason you've been off the planet and haven't heard about it, if you Google Paycheck Protection, you'll find it. The last thing I want to talk to you about, and the last thing, which means we're going to be really short today, which people like because they like short things, is it says here on my board, I'm reading it backwards, it says upside always. And kind of my personal philosophy is, even in the darkest moments, there's always an upside. There's a bright spot, a ray of light in there somewhere. And if you read my column this week, I just talked about one of the bright sides for me has been spending time at home with my family, because I don't think there'll ever be another time in my life where I'll be able to be at home with my wife and my 13-year-old, my 10-year-old, and my 7-year-old consecutively, meaning we're all home together for this length of time. And I enjoy being with them and care about them very much. So that's been a bright spot for me. All right, we're at 5 minutes, and I told you this week would be short. So, as always, it's my pleasure to serve you, Capital Region. If you're working on any of those things like budgeting very specifically or getting prepared for your lender, please call me. I'm very confident I can help you with that. And try to do the best you can to find the upside that exists in everything. There's always an upside. So, one of the other upsides is that I'm learning technology much more just to help communicate with my team and with you, and that's another upside as well. So, all right, have a good have a good weekend. Be well, and it's my pleasure to serve you as always. Thank you.